What is going on, guys? Zach here from PremiumBeat.com, and today we're going to be talking about how to get rid of these annoying like black specks on your lens in post-production. So to give you guys a bit of a quick explanation of what these black specks are, essentially they're dust particles that have landed on the sensor of your lens. Now sometimes they will have landed on possibly the glass. That one's a pretty quick fix, but sometimes when it lands on the sensor and you're doing a quick shoot, you don't even recognize it on your screens. Especially with a lot of DSLRs, the screen is so tiny that it's hard to recognize or register. I'd say about 90% of all the black specks that I've seen, I've found in post, which usually is a little late into the game. And it's not like they'll just float off because they're fixed and sandwiched in between your lens and camera, so they just stay there. So unfortunately, if you get it at the beginning of your shoot, they're stuck there the entire time. I'm gonna show you guys how I got rid of it in my footage and hopefully help save maybe one of your productions. So now, as a quick disclaimer, this does not get rid of 100% of that spec. Unfortunately, you're gonna have some leftover, possibly blurriness in there, but this gets rid of about 70 to 80% of it, so it's way less distracting and you can actually focus on the shot as opposed to staring at one of these little specks in the frame. So with all of that in mind, let's go into our editing software of choice, mine being Premiere Pro, and get rid of these bad guys. Okay, so we're in our editing software and here's my footage. So as you can see, there are these nasty specks right here, here, and here. So the first one and the most prominent one that I'm gonna get rid of is this guy. And then you can apply the same method to other specks within your shot. So this is the one that I'm like, oh boy, like this is really destroying a lot of my coverage. So I'm gonna show you guys two ways to get rid of these guys. The first way is pretty easy. So go into your effects panel on the left side of your screen and type in Gaussian blur. We're gonna grab it, drag and drop it over our footage, and then create a mask around this guy down here. So scale in your shot, find wherever your speck or dust piece is, and then create a mask around it. So I'm gonna go like this, and this is basically creating a mask on my Gaussian blur layer. Then I'm gonna go into my blurriness underneath Gaussian blur and crank that bad boy up. So now we just have this. This is just kind of a blurred out layer as opposed to having a big black smudge. So this kind of gets rid of that smudge a lot better. I mean, you can see it, but if we compare between having it and not having it, so this is with the layer disabled. And now here's it with the Gaussian blur layer enabled. So as you can see, it eliminates that black spot a lot better. So let's say this effect doesn't work for you as well as you want it to. Well, there is another method that I think works a whole lot more effective and eliminates these specks about 90%. So here's how you do it. What you want to do is duplicate your layer, so have one shot on the top. And essentially what we're going to be doing is applying the almost Photoshop clone stamping effect that software utilizes. So zoom into your footage on your second layer. And then what we're going to do on this top layer is create a mask. Now the key thing to do is actually create the mask right beside our speck. So let's go here. Doesn't have to be perfect. We can adjust that later. So I'm going to go like that. And now I've created my mask. Second thing to do now is, now that we've created that mask, what we're going to do is grab our top layer and move it over top of our bottom layer. So ta-da! Now we have essentially clone stamped that speck out. And then what we can do, just to make it a little bit better, is we can scale this mask so that it fits your dust particle properly, and so that we're not kind of duplicating an area too much, because if this effect is done too much, it's relatively noticeable. And we can play around with the feathering just so that it fits it properly. And now if we see and take a look at our footage from a wide, it's like almost 100% eliminated. And you can see it every now and again, so what we'll do is we'll just kind of go in and try and perfect it. But this is a really great way that can possibly save your footage a whole heck of a lot. And I've been doing it to all of my footage that has had these specks on it. So I think it's a bit of a lifesaver. And again, we can apply it to areas like this as well. So what you want to do again is just duplicate that first layer and then go into your opacity. So then create a mask around an object right by it. I like to make a nice circle because half the time that's what these specks are in shape of. And then again, grab that layer and slide it over top. Then we'll change the expansion because that layer was quite large. Grab motion, just bring it over top. Now that it's right over top, we'll just, and it's a lot of just finicking around with it, but once you've figured it out, you've now essentially just saved your shot, and it is now looking a whole lot better than what it did before. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. If you guys like this tutorial and want to take a look at more, I highly recommend taking a look at the PremiumBeat YouTube page. Give us your support, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in another video.